Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Steven Cimino Says Boom Show issue number 70. Oh boy, we got a great one for you today. And hey, Niall, before we get into everything, first off, I'd like to say, Steve, did you see the new intro? That picture that you're just dying to be on? How jealous were you of me, Ramita Jr. and Roy flexing the biceps? All I could think of was how bad does Steve and Billy Tucci want to be in this picture? Oh.
Well, I know that if I'd been standing there, none of them would have seen you. But it's okay. You guys.
That's true. The great ape.
Hey, how good Roy's bicep? Does Roy?
Now, I will admit, I was surprised. That surprised the heck out of me.
Oh, Tucci even said to me, Tucci goes, "Man, Niall, did you see freaking Roy's bicep?" I'm like, dude, where did that come from?
To have muscle at his age?
Oh, my God.
Serious work.
And just so you know, same with Ramita. When I saw Ramita Jr., I was like, he was in the tight shirt and all that, and I was like, holy Jesus, Junior, he was just solid as a rock. Good for him and all that stuff. I mean, these guys I love when we see that, our fellow peers getting ripped to shreds. And Niall, before we get into it all, tell us what we got to do, brother.
Yes, everyone, you know the house rules. Please look below, click that subscribe button, and smash that bell so you get notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new videos. And gentlemen, I'm going to say it because it's a quote that must be said.
Uh-oh.
I'm doing my part. Are you doing your part tonight?
Wow.
Say it. Say you're doing your part.
We're doing our part.
Excellent.
Oh, okay. Hey, we got a great one for you today. Thanks for everybody for showing up. I got to say, usually when we get our guests, you know, Steve and Niall, you guys are all right, but I'm usually the best looking guy in the room, and I feel that way. And but today, I can't say that. Today we got to step back, and I got to say to myself, God damn, I'm one ugly bastard. I'm just like Niall and Steve in this one. I don't know what to say. Okay. But we got a big one. Steve, tell us about today's guest and what some people out there need to know.
You know, this is again one of the great aspects of this show because yes, we do have our fair share of comic personalities, writers, editors. But now we are going way out into pop culture land, and this is an actor that has appeared in one of my favorite films of all time, and that is no joke. Starship Troopers, of course, which I saw in the cinema. It was before John was born. But yes, I am very excited because I don't know anything else about, young Mr. Casper's life and how much he knows about comics and stuff like that. So I'm excited about getting some questions in there and finding out what's going on.
Well, I have to say, I first met Casper we were in Montreal. But what was funny was I got a message from I guess the driver and all that stuff kind of wasn't doing his part, and some of the talent was lost, and I see this text coming, and I see this guy, and I think he's the driver, and it's him basically pointing to where he's at, and I'm like, damn, that's one good-looking driver we got there. I don't know what's going on here. And little do I know, later on as we're meeting up, I'm like, hey, I thought you were the driver. He's like, no, I'm one of the talent. And then we were both in there. It was just all screwed up, and I was like, yeah, that figures. So Niall, before we go into it, you're also a big fan of this guy that's coming down. What can you tell us about it?
Oh man, I mean, Starship Troopers for me. I mean, I was a kid when that came out, but I loved that movie. And then you had Roughnecks, spin-off animated series that came off. Then Starship Troopers 2, which was okay. I preferred Starship Troopers 3 when that came out. There's all these animated features that came out. Then this gentleman was playing Tarzan. I was running around, in my skibbies, being Tarzan around the house. I mean, Casper's work is great. There's so many movies that he has been in, television as well. I mean, just an absolute talent. I know when we announced him coming on, a lot of our fellow Pop XP hosts and friends were reaching out like, can we come on and say hi? Can we come on and say hi? I mean, everyone is thrilled at what he's done. And I got to say, I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into the weeds, Steve.
It's funny how you say that about Tarzan, because that was my most impressive thing about Mr. Casper, because he knew so much about Edgar Rice Burroughs. And this is going to surprise you. This guy was not just acting as Tarzan. The guy really believed in the lore, and he's got a lot to tell you. I'll let him tell you about what he thought about Tarzan and how much of a fan he truly is. This will give some comic and novelists out there a newfound respect of this guy. So Niall, why don't you introduce this cool cat that we got on? Because you're a fan. Let's go.
I'm a fan. Let's do it. So everyone, please welcome Mr. Casper Van Dien to the show. Yay! Oh! Wow, you got it, man. Yes.
There he is. There he is.
Welcome
Mr. Van Dien. Look at that. Look, Casper, thank you so much for being on the show. It's always an honor, and you are one of the great guys in Hollywood. I've been all around. I've met a lot of actors. I've been to a lot of dinners and all this good stuff, but I know talking with you, I mean, you were another level. I mean, you were truly down to earth, great guy, but also a fan of all this stuff. So before we get into it all, Casper, tell me what little Casper was like, and how he kind of fell into this business. And before we get into the weeds of what you do, how did you get? Let's go back.
All right. Well, it was awesome hanging out with you and Roy, up in Canada and everything. We had a lot of fun, and then going to dinner with them. I always love being around the comic book guys and legends and nerds and people like that. My wife's a huge comic book nerd and fan, and so for me it's just a thrill. But I got I was introduced to comics when I was young, and I was introduced to books. I got into books really mainly to where I went, and then I would read the comics later. But I was introduced to all the movies of Tarzan. My Tarzan was Weissmuller, but I saw a lot of them, growing up. But my dad was a huge fan of Tarzan, so I read all 24 novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs when I was a kid, and then I reread them for when I was Tarzan, and I was just so excited to do it because my dad's idol when he was a kid was Tarzan, and his dad, my grandfather, had put ropes around from his house in Jersey from the back porch all the way to the tree so that he could swing. And he said I could swing all the way from the back porch all the way around into the trees in the forest and get all the way up to the front, and I could do one swing, land on a rock, and then one skip and get on the front porch. I could almost make it all the way around and get on there. So my dad introduced me to Tarzan. My dad got me hooked on that. And when I got to play my idol, which is my father's idol, which was Tarzan, was probably the biggest thrill of my career at that point in time, because it was just I was just in awe. And the original and Tarzan came after Starship Troopers, so I know that Niall and Steve were talking about how, and that's mainly what people know me for, is Starship Troopers. I'm not going to negate that, but for me, it was a huge thing. I mean, I got to write the foreword for the Tarzan book. I should have brought it over here. 2 books actually, the Tarzan and film. I got to write the foreword for that, and I put in some of the stories that I had for that, and then also Tarzan the Invincible, which is the I think it's the 14th book. So I got to write the foreword for that as well. So I was thrilled to be a part of that. And my Tarzan movie didn't do so great. It came out and it didn't do as well as it could. It was based off the original guy that wrote it, based off of 5 of the books about Tarzan. And then he, when we got in there, the producers, and we're in Africa, only Tarzan film to be filmed entirely in Africa. We got over there, they started fighting some of the producers, and they started bringing in different writers. And as you guys all know, every writer writes differently. So some writers would be writing soliloquies, and others be writing me, Tarzan, say me, ugh, Tarzan, which is not the way that he is in the books at all. So, or in some of the comics he is, but some he isn't. So, I mean, yeah, it was a thrill to be about, but it didn't do so well in the theaters. But 12 years later, Jane Goodall gave me an award at the Edgar Rice Burroughs Awards, the Dum Dum Awards, which is not Dum Dum because of the brains, it's the Dum Dum because of the drums and the story and the books you have there. But in front of 3 other Tarzans, I was given the Golden Lion Award for my Tarzan being the closest to the book.
Wow.
So, which was a huge thrill for me because I was good friends with Danton Burroughs, who was Edgar Rice Burroughs' grandson, and I loved him before he passed in 2012, I think. But it was just a big thrill for me. So
Yeah.
Was that
well? As you,
I'm sorry.
go ahead now.
No, I was gonna say, now for a Tarzan actor, were you the only Tarzan actor to actually film in Africa?
I'm the only Tarzan movie actor to
Okay.
film entirely in Africa. I think Joe Lara filmed in Africa and somewhere else for the TV series, but I'm the only Tarzan that filmed, and I'm the only Tarzan movie Tarzan to ride on an African elephant, because in a film.
Mm-hmm.
They used to put in the Indian elephants, because they're more docile, they'd put fake ears on them to make them bigger. Indian elephants' ears are smaller. They're tamer and smaller in stature. But I rode a big African elephant, and in the Tarzan film, there's a couple stories about that if you read the forward, you'd see. I could maybe talk about them, but we'll be just talking about Tarzan the whole time. I could do a whole show just on Tarzan and how much I love it. But I know we got to also get into Starship Troopers, and I know which I also read the book when I was a kid. So, and then I got to be comics in that one. They made comics of Starship Troopers later, which was cool. Dark Horse did, and that was a thrill to be a part of. And I have some of them still, and just a thrill to be about a part of that.
Okay, well. So, but before you got, so like in your, when did you think that you started to wanting to be an actor though, Casper? Like when did that bug started coming? Because you probably were a hit with the ladies right off the bat. I mean, come on.
Well, I went to an all-guy military school, so that probably made it a little bit more difficult. I went to Admiral Farragut Academy in St. Petersburg, Florida. Loved it, which has helped me tremendously in my career. I've always early, always prepared, was on time, and I know a lot about weapons, or I did more back when I was younger. I mean, I'm not, but I do know something about them. And I grew up in that atmosphere, but then I went to college, and I went to Florida State because it was after going to an all-guy military school and seeing guys 24/7, 7 days a week. I went to Florida State because there's 3 girls to every guy. And then I decided to go out to California. I only did 1 year in college, and then I decided to go out to California and give it a shot and mess around for a little bit and see what it'd be like. And that's 35 years ago. So I didn't go into, didn't finish college and didn't go into the military, which was what I thought I would do. I thought I would go into the military like every other male in my family, but I didn't know I was going to do that until probably I was in Florida State, and I started taking theater because I thought I'd be pre-med. I thought I would try to go that route. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then I started taking theater because I looked over and I saw all these girls coming out of that one building. And I was like, what's in that building over there? And then I was like, and then I started taking the theater because, well, you know, there's more girls in there than guys. And the other guys were like, I'm not doing that. And I was like, I'm doing that. I'm going. You guys aren't going to, okay. More merrier for me. I don't care. So I thought that's what I would do. And then I got hooked on the acting. I just got hooked on it. What was some of your first plays that you started doing? Do you remember? Well, I didn't do the plays. I'd watched them in college, and then I went out to California, and I just started work. I started commercials and then TV. So I got TV shows, and then a soap opera, and a couple TV movies, and you know, they said it was an overnight success when in 1997, November 7th, Starship Troopers came out. but I went out to California September 12th, 1989. So 89 to 97, overnight success is what they say. But I had many things I did in between, but they just wanted me to look like it would. They discovered me.
What soap opera did you do?
One Life to Live.
That's crazy. Really?
I was Ty Moody. I was Luna Moody's brother, and Tanya Walker was a girl I was messing around with on there. A woman. She was a woman, and I was supposed to be a boy. I was still 24 years old, I think.
How long did you do it for?
9 months.
Really? And what happened? Your character get killed, or did he get lost? What happened?
You know what? I don't even know what happened to my character. I know I went there. Nathan Fillion was coming in as I was leaving, and Ryan Felipe had left just when I got on. And so I knew all these guys back then. But what happened was that when I first got on there, I just wasn't, I'm not so good at being unless it's a comedy thing for the soap thing, I just wasn't like the soap acting and the tense brooding I wasn't so good at it, because I can only do it for so long before I crack some kind of joke or say something stupid. And I have ADD, ADHD, and I'm dyslexic, so I'm like a nightmare for that kind of stuff, because I'd be like, I smolder so well. I don't know. It's a real acting thing, maybe, but I mean the soap thing. I think I had to go to school to try to learn how to soap act. I just wasn't. It wasn't my forte, and they have to memorize so much, which is good, because that helped give me a good basis for memorization too. I think that Tanya Walker gave me a lot of insight to what I could do. I used to write things out because I'm dyslexic, and so I had a hard time memorizing. But now it's become like a superpower for me.
Wow. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, this is actually quite fascinating, because I came over to the States in June of 1991, and I went right to California. I went right to Gold's Gym. I went right to the hive of activity. I was going to be the biggest new wrestler. I was going to be all this bodybuilding. But while I was there, I met so many people who had come from around the States to come to California to be successful. Each of them had a little script, and they were hanging out at they were anything. They were, going into hundreds of auditions. I have a good indication, of how determined and how focused you have to be. I mean, I think some people here who may be listening to this may be thinking, "Oh yeah, he got there in '89, and then he did some stuff and he got." It's not like that. It is incredibly hard to get that one break. The amount of, weirdos that you meet before you meet someone that's actually connected. The amount of people that I said, "Oh, I'm going," they were going off to an audition. It's like some weird guy that's just like, "Yeah, man, I'm connected to such and such." It was definitely a learning curve for me, and believe it or not, I ended up dipping my foot into Hollywood myself. I was hanging around a studio called Constantine Films.
Yeah.
And the head guy himself was a Lebanese businessman with the loudest booming voice I've ever heard on earth. And he wanted to hire me because I was a comic person and I knew who the Silver Surfer was. And he was like, "Steve, I have a plan. Silver Surfer's going to be this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So for me, when I hear your story, there must be one single moment when you met that right person that put you in the right area at the right time to get that little break you got. What was that? What was that break that pushed you through from being in the crowd in Starbucks with your script to actually getting on there and getting some work done?
Oh my God, there's many moments in those. So there's not like one particular, because I too was going to Gold's Gym and the Mecca and working out with Mike Ryan and working out with Steve from the Gladiators and working out with, meeting these different guys. And I would always look out and find the best bodybuilders, also the best fighters and the best acting coaches and the best thing. All my money went to, besides drinking at the time, which I did drink back then, but now I'm 29 and a half years sober, so I haven't had a drink in a long time.
Awesome.
Well, I wasn't very good at it apparently, or maybe too good at it. I'm not quite sure which way it goes, but one way or the other, I had to quit. And But when I was first doing that, I was meeting all these incredible people, and I would always surround myself around the best things, and I would study and learn as much as I could. But like I said, I mean, it was an overnight success, but there was many things one of my first auditions was, I did commercials. I did a couple of commercials here and there. And then I got this show, Dangerous Women. And it was it was the worst audition I've ever had to this day. I couldn't even do my thing. And I left the audition going, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I left and I was terrible. And I get in the car and I'm driving back, and I got my pager, and I had to pull over and find a cord, put a quarter in, dial, because it's back. I mean, like, this is the beginning of my career. Okay. So they didn't have the cell phone so much. I got one not later on when I was, but it was like the flippy thing and plastic and whatever else it was. It's terrible. But they go, yeah, you got the job. And I go, no, I didn't. It was the worst job I ever got. I go, that's not even funny. And they're like, no, they love what you did. So and people go, well, it's because you're pretty, but there was a lot of guys that were prettier than me, or just as pretty, or whatever you want to say. So I have no idea how I got that one, but they saw something. And that's after I had a first manager. My first manager, he died just before I got this, but his name was Gary Scalzo. When I first went out to Hollywood, he was a guy that wanted his Magnificent Seven, and it was Elijah Wood, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and they were all 12 years old at this time, and I was 19. So I was like the old one, and he was like, when you get famous, and then he had a whole bunch of, everybody, all the names of these Magnificent Seven, we all still work today. One of them got married though, and she left, and one of them is now a director. But the rest of us are all actors that are still working today. But he died of AIDS 2 years later. He was an amazing man. So he saw something in me, he says. But there were 7 of us that went out from Florida. He brought them from all over the world of what he thought he was going to create. But not much happened with me in those first 2 years. A couple commercials here, a couple things. And then after he died, then I booked that show. And then I went on and booked the soap opera. Then I went back and got on 90210, and I got on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I did. Go ahead.
Casper, where did you live at that time? Where were you living?
I was living Hollywood Way and Verdugo in Burbank.
Oh,
Burbank.
Okay, I know Verdugo. Yeah, I know that area.
Yeah, I lived there. I mean, I lived all over in every place in California. I've lived in Mar Vista, which is right next to.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in Santa Monica, and I've lived in Malibu. I've lived in Hollywood, West Hollywood. I've lived in. I lived in Topanga. I lived in Malibu. I've lived all over California. I've lived in Santa Monica. I've lived everywhere there.
Now, did you used to crash with other actors and all that stuff, or you just kind of on you?
Yeah, I did. I lived with a whole bunch of different actors. I shared rooms with guys, and I was a bartender. I was a guy that I was a lifeguard. I was a security guard. I did boat maintenance. I was a runner. I was a gopher. I was I worked at the gym. I mean, I've done everything you could possibly do to pay for, and bartending was the one that helped me. When I got my first series, I stayed bartending because I was making so much money. It's the first year I broke 100,000. I was 22 years old, and it's because I probably made 30-something thousand as a bartender, and the rest of it as an actor, commercial, and series.
Yeah,
so,
making the.
I was like, oh my God, I finally did something. So, but my first time getting somebody that really picked me over everything. I mean, there's a couple things I could say. I could say it was when I got a 90210 by Mr. Aaron Spelling. When he saw me, he got me that, and later he gave me another series, but that was after Starship Troopers. Paul Verhoeven is really the man. Starship Troopers is really the man that gave me my career, because Starship Troopers, I can't go down the street. There's not very many days I can't go where somebody will go, Rico, what are you doing here? Or, come on, I'll give you want to live forever, or do your job. I'm doing my part, or I'm going to kill some bugs. Somebody's doing something like me. But also, the producers and director of Tarzan I tried to get Sean Patrick Flannery for it, and he had a prior commitment, so he couldn't do it. So he had the offer before me, and he and I just did a film together, which is great. And we're really good friends. I love him to death. But he had to turn it down, and he wanted to do it, but he had to turn it down. But without meeting me, without me auditioning, I got Tarzan because of Paul Verhoeven telling the director and producer what it was like to work with me on Starship Troopers before it even came out. So I got that job just because of what he said my work ethic was and what it says to have me as an actor on set and what it was like to work with me. And so Paul Verhoeven, I would say 100% is the man that gave me that break, because also the studio wanted, I think, Matt Damon for the role or Tom Cruise or somebody big. They wanted a big name. And they said that in your contract, Paul, you have to do a screen test. And he goes, okay, fine, I will do. And they had to do a couple of screen tests. So what he did is he tested me and Denise Richards. And so when I got in there, I was like, who am I testing against? He goes, nothing. They want this couple. I'd say I have to give them a couple screen tests. So I give them 2. So he screened, and it's on one of the DVDs. You can see are the screen tests of what I did and what she did. There's no other actor. I didn't screen test against anybody else because Paul Verhoeven is a man of his word and said that he would give them a couple of screen tests so they could look at it and choose from there. So he gave him Johnny Rico, Casper Van Dien, and Denise Richards for Carmen. And that's it. He didn't want to give them any, that was it. So I love that man to death. He's the man. For some reason, he saw me as Johnny Rico. And people are like, but, the character is written as he's a Filipino Buenos Airian. Now, I am not a Filipino Buenos Airian, but Verhoeven was also somebody whose family fought against the Nazis. He was 7 years old, and it's a vivid memory he has, seeing his family and the people around him going up against that. It's vivid. So when he did this, there's a lot of Nazi Germans went down to South America and Buenos Aires. And apparently I look like I could be somebody that came from Germany.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he was trying to say, is if the whole world had become, like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's
became
really cool.
Germanified or Americanized or whatever it was, whatever he was trying to say. Anybody who's, that's why. So that's why I was that character, as instead of it being like, well, that's, your cultural appropriation. No, it wasn't. He had a specific reason for what he was doing to prove a point for what, how people get away with things or what they do. He's just he's an incredible man. He's a genius IQ, and he's always drawn. Speaking of comics, I mean, this guy draws. If you could get artwork of Verhoeven or Tim Burton when I did Sleepy Hollow, the two of them would always be drawing and sketching, and some of their storyboards would be, these comic book quality. You put up these things. They'd have these big boards up with the frames of the shots of everything with like me up there as this character. I wish I had them to this day. I wish I had them. I was younger and was too afraid to ask, and I don't think they were even up anyhow. But they would draw some of them. Mostly they had artists draw them, but occasionally there'd be one of their specific drawings in there. Each of them would do this. Quite amazing.
Wow.
You could have flip book Starship Troopers for what it was.
Casper, did you ever think? I mean, I don't know how, but you could have been Captain America. Was that ever? I mean, I met Chris Evans. He lives kind of near me over here, and I've seen him. And I want to just say, I mean, okay, he's a little younger, but did that ever cross your mind or something? Did you ever try to? I mean, because you definitely, Steve Rogers.
So okay, I'm going to tell you one of the highlight of my career. This is the highlight. This is the ultimate highlight of my career. I had these agents, who shall remain nameless, but they wanted to pitch me a series, and they got me to meet with 3 different writers. One was 2 guy writers who later did a series with another actor, the one that they wanted me to do, but I said no, and I actually fired them because this is what happened. One of the writers that they wanted me to meet with this is in 2000. One of them was a writer that some people are familiar with, but some people weren't, and his name was Stanley. And I got to meet Mr. Stanley. I went in and met with him, and he goes, okay. He goes, Casper, we should do this series. This is 2000. This is the year 2000, okay? So it's before Spider-Man. It's before a lot of things. It's before he's like, he's they're like Marvel Comics, whatever, blah blah blah. The Spider-Man TV series hadn't done so well back in the day, but I was like, yes, Excelsior, so great. I was so excited. So I was so nerded out because I'm meeting him, and I meet him, and he goes, "Okay, Casper." He goes, "What?" He goes, "What? Casper, that's an interesting. Where do you go?" I go, "Well, it's my firstborn name. I'm named after my grandfather, my father, and great-grandfather." He goes, "What's your father's middle name?" I go, "It's the same as mine." He goes, "What's your grandfather's middle name?" I go, "It was Casper Anson." He goes, "What's your great-grandfather's?" "Casper Force." He goes, "Okay, your character's Anson Force." And I was like, I'm in 100% in, Stanley. I'm in already. I'm sold. So I'm already telling, later I tell them that's who I want. They said, no, we don't want you to go with him. And I was like, what? They're like, no, we want you to go with these other people. I go, why'd you even pitch me Stan Lee? I go, that's who I want to go. And they go, no, we're not going to go with him. And he's too old. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, this is in 2000. I'm like, they're so stupid. They were so stupid. I'm sorry. I say this about people, but I was like so anyhow, but as I was leaving, after meeting him, he goes, you know what? He goes to me, he goes, you know what, Casper? Let me tell you this. We're going to do this series. And I go, yes, we are, Mr. Stanley. Yes, sir. We are if we can. He goes, and I still thought it would have been great. Anson Force, and he was going to do whatever he's going to do. I don't even remember what he was doing because I was just, as soon as he said both my grandfather's middle names, taking that to me was like one of the biggest honors, and to have a man of his caliber say that to me. But as I was leaving, he goes, if they ever make a Captain America, you'd be the perfect Captain America. Steve Rogers, you'd be it. If I had to choose one, I'd choose you. And I was like, yes, sir. I was so nerded out. I was like, so I'm not that I could ever take over what Chris did or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but for me, that was the biggest compliment I ever got in my career. And, I fired my agents because they didn't want me to go with him. And they're the ones that pitched me in, because he was with the literary part, because he was the writer. I was with the acting part, but these were the people who were trying to pitch a series for me. And then after they pitch him, they're like, no, we don't want you to go with him. I'm like, why did you even pitch? What the fuck? Why would you even do that? I don't understand it. But I don't understand a lot of things. But they made a mistake because he is Stan Lee, and he became even bigger and stuff. And we could have had a series together with him. And it would have been so cool. And we would have been talking about that. I would have talked through the whole life. I got to talk to him years later about it and say, hey, I wanted to tell you. He goes, yeah, that would have been a good series, but I got a little bit busy now. So, and I'm like, yeah.
But Casper, did you hear around the town? I'm sure you heard when Iron Man blew up that they had to be casting and all. Did that ever cross your mind that there were all of a sudden these Marvel heroes were starting to become big?
I would have loved to have been any part of any of that. Yeah, I would have loved it. I had a frustrating thing on when I was Tarzan, and they changed the script, and then all of a sudden I go, okay, but the script we had was based off of 5 of the great books by Edgar Rice Burroughs, 5 of his best books, and I go, and I know this because I read the books and I reread them before I did the movie, so that they were really fresh in my mind. And then they started changing up these stories that didn't make sense. These guys would reappear out of nowhere when the guy would throw bones down, and then all of a sudden they'd appear, and then as soon as you shoot them, they disappear. And I go, what book is that from? They're like, no, Casper, it's called Movies. And I'm like, no, but you're disrespecting the literature, and you're gonna disrespect the fan base. So when they go and they do something that disrespects the big fan base, that is the real reason why people are going to go to this. It irks me, especially because I my parents were educators, teachers, and they taught me, and I love reading. And so this is what, same with comic books. You read comic books, you get into this, and there's a literature to this. There's a point to these things. There's a reason why they go there. And they were so well written, and the thought process came out so well. Tarzan was one of the original heroes. He's before Superman, before Batman, before Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Before Wonder Woman. He's before that. He's the real guy. He's actually after Rudyard Kipling's I think Edgar Rice Burroughs might have had a little bit of influence there, maybe. But you always take influence from things. I mean, the same with Roddenberry and Star Trek. He's the godfather of science fiction, but Burroughs was before him. So
that's right. Yeah.
So we have when you have these icons, and like Stan Lee, thanks Carlos. When you have these icons and they're not respected until later, and the rest of us are like, yeah, when Starship Troopers came out, they go, "Hey Casper, for press, we're gonna go down to this Comic-Con thing. Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" And they're like, "Well, none of the other actors want to go, but you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yes, I want to go. Why don't they want to go?" They're like, "Well, it's kind of nerdy." And I'm like, "Yeah, yes, it is. That's why I'm going." So I went down there, and that the first time I went in 1997, I could drive up to Comic-Con in San Diego, park my car outside, and like, "Don't worry about it, Casper, Mr. Van Dien, just leave it there." I left my car there. I went in, walked in. It was like so easy to go in. Nothing like that now.
No.
You gotta have 15 passes to get into certain rooms and everything like that. And Hall H is still amazing, but I was in Hall H in 1997 for Starship Troopers, 1998 for Tarzan, and 1999 for Sleepy Hollow. So I got to go, 3 years in a row then. And I went back 2008. I went for Mortal Kombat when I was Johnny Cage. I went for a Conman series with Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk. And I went for Starship Troopers, the 2 animated ones, the 3rd one, and I went again for Savage Marines last year, I think. So it's just or the year before, whatever. Not this year, last year. So
Go ahead.
I love going to these things. I love being around the people. I love being around the artists. I love getting around there and go meet. And I like just go meet all the different vendors. I go to even when I go to Comic-Cons now, I meet the vendors. I go and I talk to the people because I love this industry. And when I mean this industry, I mean the arts, and I mean literature. I mean comic book literature. I mean movie literature. I mean the movies. I mean TV shows. I love the people, the personalities, the creators. I love the people that are into it, and they get so excited about it. I love the fans. I love the people that cosplay. My wife cosplays. She does Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Steve.
Me too.
It's you said something early on right at the beginning where people will come up to you in the street and they're still referring to you as Rico.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you are aware or you have an understanding of the sheer power of that movie, because the reason it has such gravitas is because that film could be released tomorrow and it holds up. And secondly, in actual fact, it has everything that we need in movies right now. And so when we look back on that film, because Paul, obviously, a genius level, as I agree, because RoboCop to me is the film that just, wow. I mean, now, on a personal level, I remember I was watching some film, I can't even remember what it was, and there was a preview for Starship Troopers. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, that film was I'm watching the previews, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my word. And there's that little scene there where, there's that little camp out in the middle of nowhere, and the birds, things are flying in, and they're shooting. And I turned to my ex at the time, and I was like, that's what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for this, and there was nothing that was going to keep me out of that. I've never, and this is no lie, I have never been as enthusiastic about a movie in my entire life. When I watched the movie, I left the cinema fully satisfied. Now, quick question for you. When you saw the movie back yourself that first time, what were your feelings? Did you have an inclination that you had been part of this magnificent thing? Or were you, what were your feelings?
Oh, 100%. I too am a huge Paul Verhoeven and nerd. So there's a time where we're out with, we actually had 1,400 extras many times we were there, but it's when the dropships are coming down and we are going out for the first attack, the first wave in, when we lose our commander, played by Stephen Ford, who was John Ford's son, but who goes, if you remember your orders, you will survive. And then he gets killed, and then Dave has to take over, and I go, kill them all, and I take over, and we're in the big battle, we're in the shit. So I'm going around, we're running around, 1,400 extras, explosions going off, 30 actors, 30 stuntmen, all loaded, running around. It's at nighttime, and I look over behind the camera. There's Paul Verhoeven, the director of RoboCop, Ed Neumeyer, the writer of RoboCop, John Davison, the producer of RoboCop, and Phil Tippett, the visual effects guy of RoboCop. And I'm looking at that, and I'm going, wait a minute. Peter Weller was number 1 on his call sheet, and I'm number 1 on this. I'm Murphy. I was like, this is yes, I had an inclination. I was like, holy fuck, I'm Murphy. I'm like, I buy that for $1. And then I was surprised that people missed it, that people didn't get the satire, that it went over their head, that they took it as a serious thing, that they didn't understand the pure genius behind it, or why it has longevity today. It has now. It has legs that it didn't have when it first came out. It did in England. In England, they really knew how to go. In the Clapham Commons, when we had the premiere over there, it was amazing. They had all the propaganda posters up on, just plastered over all the tunnels, and everywhere you went over, it was just the English really. Their sick, perverse sense of humor is fantastic. I love it. I was in heaven. Germans, they were a little bit nervous about it because I think it was too close to home. But it still did well there. But they had to do a PG-er version over there. For some reason, I don't know. And in France, it did really well, and in Japan, it was doing well. But at that time, that movie, it holds up well because of the dark, sick, perverse sense of humor that Ed Neumeyer, the writer, and Paul Verhoeven, the director, have. They're both geniuses. And I mean, I'm not just saying they're both geniuses because I think they're geniuses because they hired me. No, they're geniuses because they actually have genius IQs. I mean, they're already registered like this. They're just they're like, you meet these people, like you meet a Roy, or you meet you meet any of these people, you sit there and you go, oh my God, they're amazing. How do they come up with this? Well, you just take 10 minutes with them and you'll go, oh, because they're magical. So yeah, and when I saw it, I did. And also show you how much more of a nerd I am. The first weekend they gave me boxes of Starship Troopers with me on the cover of it, the books. Mm-hmm. And they gave me 8 boxes filled with books. And I think there was, I don't know how many books are in the boxes, but I went over to 8 movie theaters. And yes, it is a legit classic. I agree. I brought the books with me to all the different movie theaters. I went to 8 different movie theaters the first weekend, and then handed out books, and people were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I signed 8 different theaters all throughout the weekend. And the next weekend, I went with my buddy Garrett Warren, who's a stunt coordinator for Avatar, Lincoln, The Master, Logan. But he and I were on Starship Troopers together. We were both nerds and geeks, and he went with me. And we had the second weekend, I went to 9 movie theaters with 9 boxes. And I handed out these things to books, to people, and everything. And that, because in the promotional of Starship Troopers in the promo for it, they had Blur, Blink 180, Blur, song number 2.
Number 9.
What?
Song number 9.
Is it song 9 or 3 or song, whatever it is? It's a song that they had that everyone, woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah. That was in the trailer, but it wasn't in the movie. But as soon as all the bugs came, the whole audience went, woohoo! And I was like, oh my God, yes! And I go, oh, I wish they'd put that in the movie.
So. Oh, wow. Go ahead now.
All right. So actually, we got a super chat here. I'll read that. So he says, Cass, forget Denise. What was it like doing scenes with Dina Meyer?
It is Aaron Sleeper here. I'm going to tell you something, brother. That is something that everybody asks me, whether they're Dina or Dizzy or Carmen. Dizzy or Carmen. And I'm going to tell you, 90% of them are definitely Dizzy, which was Dina Meyer on that one. Yes. So that's what most people are. And to me, it's mine was the bugs. I tell you, I had a thing for them bugs. I said, kill them all. Rico's actually more of a Wonder Woman kind of guy. He likes. Sorry, those 2 girls, they're great. Nothing against them, but Rico, if he had his druthers, and I do, I'm home with her now.
So what was it like now, after Starship Troopers, right? You had the Starship Troopers came out. I think someone in the chat said that they were advertising it like as the next Star Wars, which they said did a disservice to it. But what was your career like, moving on from Starship Troopers? I know you went into Tarzan. How was your career moving forward?
Well, careers have waves. I wish mine, I could just say I was like a Tom Cruise wave because they have the 4 stages of acting. They have, and you can put any actor's name in this. So I'll just do me. They go, first stage of acting is who's Casper Van Dien. Second stage of acting is get me Casper Van Dien. Third stage of acting is give me a younger Casper Van Dien. Fourth stage of acting is who's Casper Van Dien? That works for everybody but Tom Cruise, apparently. So, you know, I don't know. You know, my career has had its bumps and bruises and everything like that, but I keep working and I keep having fun. I think I'm more alive on set. I just worked with Sean Patrick Flannery, who I said, you know, from the Boondock Saints and, you know, and Young Indiana Jones. He's an incredible actor. I loved working with him. He owns a dojo in Texas, and he and I were just nonstop on this one where we just were working together, and we were Ruthless Bastards is the name of it. And he and I are the two most ruthless bastards in a cast of all ruthless bastards, no nice people. Everybody's terrible, but we're probably the most ruthless, but we're also the ones that have a little bit of a redeeming quality. But I got to work with him, and it was phenomenal. I felt like a big kid again. I always do, though. On sets, I love it, but he was just phenomenal to act with. What a fantastic actor and just a gem of a man. So, you know, I don't know. I'll look for the next great thing that happens. I love all the different aspects of it. I got Nathan Fillion now. Alan Tudyk asked me to come play in Conman series with him. And I get there and I go, what do you guys want? Casper got a great role for you in Conman series. I don't know if you guys are ever familiar with this. It's about going to cons and different things like that. It's a great little fun series. It has everybody in it that you can think of. But I go, okay, Alan, what do I got to do? And he goes, okay, Casper, this is what you do in the series. And I go, and he goes, and you don't talk. And I go, I'm in. And he goes, I'm the bartender in it. So I'm shaking drinks all the time. Season 2, I'm double fisted.
Yeah. Now,
and we do a Starship Troopers reference in the season 2, but it was so cool because it's all about cons and geeks and nerds, and it was funded by fans of comics, of Comic-Cons and comics and movies and TV shows. The real people, the people I go to, people that I'm around, the people I love going to. I love going to Comic-Cons. I love talking to the people there. They're really just people who love the same shit that I love, which is so amazing to me. So people are like, "What do you think about those guys that wear dress up in costumes?" And I go, it's what I do for a living. What are you trying to say? And also, I married my wife, who's a cosplayer and stuff like that. Or was, you know, she was. She always will be. She's just.
This is a great indication of how me and Casper got together. You can see he's a wild man too, and he's such a fit. And me and Casper just hit it off like that, just going right in the car.
We might have hit it off, but nobody talks more than you, John. I don't give a fuck what you're trying to say here.
Come on!
I got these guys that are going to back me up 100%. I bet my entire fortune on it.
But Casper, was I a good salesman? Am I a good salesman?
Yeah, nobody's negating that because you proved that, brother. You proved it. I'm here. I love you, brother. I do. I love you. But you can't talk. You know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Got it. Hey, Casper, now talk about how I know your daughter does some acting, but like as you're getting into it, how did some of your family get into acting? And did you push them? Did you not want them to do it or what?
Whatever they want to do. They've been on sets. I mean, Gracie, you're talking about my daughter Grace, who was on a little series called Stranger Things.
I never heard of that.
Yeah. But she was in season 4. She played Chrissy Wake Up. So she had this whole song. It went viral. She's with the guy that plays, Chrissy Wake Up. She and this other guy were the number 1 costumes for Halloween last year. And it was incredible because when I went to Comic-Con, there was 38 different people that I saw that I took pictures with, guys and girls dressed up as Chrissy, my daughter. Yeah. And so it's amazing. But she was born during Starship Troopers. So she calls herself the Starship Troopers baby. She was on Tarzan when she was a little nub there. She was on Sleepy Hollow. Johnny Depp was there. So she's always watching. She's just be the one that would watch. And she's the only one of my kids that's in the industry. But the other ones are more private and that's their thing. They do their own thing. But she's probably the most like me and also but different. And she's unlike you and me, John. She's very quiet and she's shy. Except for when she gets to talking, then she can talk or playing a game. She can play. But she is much more quiet than I am. So,
well, good, Steve.
So, obviously, we got a lot of stuff going on. John did mention early on about you being Captain America, but right now, Marvel is going through a weird phase right now where they're sort of in need. The studios are not going through the best time in the world, and there's all sorts of like franchises and and characters that they're pulling upon. Do you have like an army of agents out there that are pushing you out there and saying, guys, wave 4, wave 5, wave 6, wave 7, there could be something, because I would love to see you in the MCU. I think it would be nailed.
Wait, Casper, before you say it, how good would he be as Tyrannus?
Oh yeah, you would nail it.
Oh God, he has the face. A Hulk villain, Tyrannus.
Yeah.
He always tries to get the elixir of life because he wants to keep his youth, and he's very good looking, but he's a complete narcissist and all that.
Well, I have that painting up in the attic. So I do it. I actually had a character once that I played in Spain for a guy that he was trying to get a thing called Dr. Narcissus. And it was, I thought it would have been great too. So I would love to be involved with that. I love all aspects of the acting. I just love being on the set. But I would love to be, for me, people like, hey, you ever want to play superhero? I go, I was Tarzan. So you can't ever take that away from me. I will always be the original. And for me, the thing that the superhero that the superpower would want to have and want whatever to have. I mean, I love playing the baddies. So if I get to play somebody, the villainous part, that would be the most fun for me.
Oh, it would be great.
If I wanted to play a superhero, it would definitely be one that kindness would be his biggest superpower, because I think we need more of that. So if there's a way, we want Casper as our crime lord, Sir Terror. I will be your crime lord. I just did a fan film. It was the first Swiss-ploitation film, not a fan film, but a Swiss-ploitation film, all created by fans, in Mad Heidi, where they took the Heidi of the Alps character and they turned her into having her Swiss army katana, and she comes a badass. She fights me, who I play the ruler plus dictator plus president of Swiss. Yes, and it's the cheesiest film you ever see. We fondue board, hot fondue board people, and it's called Mad Heidi. You guys check that out. It's an insane film. It's out right now. That's crazy.
Go ahead now.
It's just, now I'm a huge war movie buff. Big World War II guy and everything. And you recently did
Battle for Saipan.
Yeah, Battle for Saipan 2022 that came out. How was it like filming a war movie?
I love getting to play anything that respects the U.S. military. And that guy that I played was based on a real character. He was a guy that during the last push, the Japanese had the last push in Saipan. That 5,000 were making their last stand, and they went against the Americans because they had no other choice. And they went into a hospital, and this doctor broke his Hippocratic oath by shooting and killing. And at the end, they ran out of bullets, and he was stabbing people with his knife and everything. And my character uses a hammer in that one, but it was a real life character that the army didn't talk about it because they were so aghast that he broke his oath and was killing people because doctors weren't supposed to back then. So they didn't honor him, and he didn't get honored. He finally got recognized and got received posthumously through Obama, gave him an award finally, because the doctors and the nurses that it's a good movie. So I hope you like it.
It's a real good movie.
His family, they all said, look, he died, but he died fighting to save these people. And these other doctors and nurses and some of the patients would have died if he hadn't. Some of them did die, but he really did stand. At the end, there was like on top of 80 something bodies, he was standing, and he got stabbed, bled out. But yeah, they all fought really hard. It was a horrible battle, but yeah, we played that, and I shot that in 10 days. So it was so hard, but I did it with Louis Mandalore, good friend, love him too. What a great fighter he is. But in the beginning, that script was supposed to be him and I both had the same fighting, and now I can fight like him. But I said, no, I'm a doctor, so it can't be that. My character was boxing, but so I can do a little bit of that and that, but I can't fight like him, and it's not going to be the same. I would have a different thing. So we incorporated that into it, and it ended up, I think, becoming something really good. The director, Brandon, did a good job, and Louis and I had so much fun. And my wife was in that with me too. I played one of the nurses. She actually saved my life in it. She's the nurse that shot that guy who was about to kill me.
Now another question is, So I'm good friends with Kevin Van Hook.
Love Kevin Van Hook. He's one of my best friends.
I was
Love
gonna
Kevin.
say, yeah, and he's wrote things and he said like my cousin. So are you guys actually related or just really good friends?
We're just really good friends. We might as well be related because we're both Dutch. Van Hook and Van Dien. So I always call him Hook. But yeah, he has put me in a couple of his movies, and I love him to death. And yeah, I've done 3 movies with him, 4 things. I was almost shot another thing with him. I love Hook. Good comic book artist, incredible talent. He's yeah, he had that Vin Diesel
Bloodshot.
Yeah, he created that. He's the creator of that.
He's a valiant guy for those out there.
Yeah,
back in the day. Kevin, he's an awesome guy, and he's been doing some stuff with I think Filipino studios and stuff right now with some new comic book series and things. We've been actually helping promote those books around. But Kevin's a great guy, and me and another buddy of mine were like, "Are they really cousins?" I'm like, I don't know. And I never asked Kevin.
we could be, but I haven't found that in my genealogy yet. Now he also wrote a Batman and Superman versus werewolves and vampires.
Yes.
So he's
a horror guy. He's a horror guy.
He is a horror guy. And he's Dutch, so that's Verhoeven, Van Hook, Van Dien, all those crazy Dutch guys.
They sound like a bunch of vampire slayers.
Yeah, we are. I played Van Helsing before too, so I've been there.
Go ahead, Steve.
So what is it? Do you have anything coming on down the horizon, or something that's ticking away? Is there something that you're excited about doing right now that's going to be coming up?
Well, I have the Ruthless Bastards is coming out. I'm excited to see what that looks like. Right now, I have that Battle for Saipan that people can see right now. I have a Western out called The Warrant Out that people can see.
I saw that
too. That's good too.
That was fun to do. And then I have, Matt Heidi, and I have one called Daughter that came out where I play a really sick man with my Vietnamese family.
That just came out, right?
It's called Daughter, and I'm father. I replace daughters.
Creepy.
I'm terrible in that one. That one was shot all on film, and it was shot all on film, and it's just so weird and odd, and the cast was they were so good, but it's just a really out there film where it's mostly me talking. So if you guys don't like me talking, I wouldn't watch it.
But I got to tell you, Casper, I mean, you hit 2 big things that you'll always be remembered by. Obviously, everybody's going to know Starship Troopers, but now Sleepy Hollow is also, I think I told you this before, it's become like this every Halloween. It's become one of those Halloween movies you got to watch like every year. It's one of those, it's like, it's almost like the Christmas Story on Christmas. You got to watch it every year. So you kind of did something that's, that not many people have ever done, but 2 mainstays. You'll always get that cult following. They're always going to love Rico, but now you're always going to be like a seasonal, like you always see who you are. How does that feel, though? I mean, that's a great sense of accomplishment. You really went far.
Well, that was a lot of fun to be in that movie, and to work with Johnny Depp he was so kind and amazing to work with. And Christina and it was incredible to work with. And Tim Burton was amazing to work with, and being on set and walking by and seeing Christopher walk by on the set and just be like, oh my God, just be like nerding out. Michael Gambon and Miranda Richardson and all these incredible actors. And the horse I rode on that was from the original TV series Black Beauty. So 18 hands. Now I rode 15. I'm pretty good on horse. Robert Mitchum gave me my first horse, and it was 15.3 and she was a quarter horse, but this was a thoroughbred I was riding there, and he was just all muscle and but I had to ride. Tim Burton goes, hey, can you gallop down this hill? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I lead. I'm like, I don't want to gallop down a hill. It's all gravel and cold, and it's like a steep hill. I was like, but it is me riding down there. And I cut over and I ride over, and I'm the one that shot that. The guy hands me his musket. He goes, please don't break it. It's from the early 1800s. It's supposed to be 17. Please don't. And I'm like, and they had to put a glass, the bulletproof glass in front of the camera because they had to load it with a wad of paper, the musket, because you couldn't put bullets in it because it would actually break it. So they put a wad of paper with gunpowder. And when I aimed it 100 feet away, I hit the top of the X over the camera. I hit the top of the X. The horse towed up to the mark. I hit the X, and Tim Burton's like, "Hey, that was great." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God, this horse is so good." And I was so lucky with my shot. And he goes, "Let's just do one more for safety." And I'm like, "Oh shit." So I have to go back up the mountain, ride down again, pull over, going right. The horse wants to go left because that's home. And then I had to go under the covered bridge, which he didn't want to go under because it's a covered bridge. And I have to duck because I'm going under because it's 18 hands. And then I had to hit the mark again. The horse towed up to the mark the second time. This was the horse. I'm pretty good on a horse, but the horse was really good. And then I fired the musket again, and this time I hit the bottom of the X. So I was lucky. Lucky I went to military school. Yes. And my dad taught me how to shoot when I was young. So,
wow. Go ahead, Steve.
So it is amazing that you've had this long, career. You've still got a long way to go. You're only 55, so you're a year younger.
Yeah, 55 in a couple of days.
Yeah. So it's good that, you're still, you look young, you're vibrant, you're ready. There's nothing that can really stop you. Have you thought, or are you interested in actually creating or writing or directing yourself?
I've directed myself 3 times. I've directed 3 movies. I was about to direct another movie, and I might still be doing it. It's a baseball movie. I might be doing that. I don't know. I'll see if that happens. But yeah, I'm very interested in directing. I don't have to direct myself in it though either. I could just direct a movie too. I would love to be involved in creating. My wife wrote a couple of comedies I would love to do because I just think doing all different things is great. I have great friends over in England that I want to shoot with. I love being on set. I can't tell you. I love being on set so much. So when people go specifically, what would you like to do? I just want to keep, getting on set and be around creative types. I feel so alive when I'm on set. Yeah. And I feel like I become a better man and a better husband, a better father, better friend, better son, everything because I'm doing what I love. And I don't have a particular thing that I would do over anything else or have something that would come in and go, I would love to do, I would love to bring somebody's incredible character to life in one way or another. I would love the honor of doing that. And I love every chance I get. And I as I'm getting older, I know I think I'm improving as an actor. I think I can continue to do that because, life experience. I think that's the best thing you can have to improve as an actor. And, a couple divorces in and, a couple heartbreaks here and there and just a couple of bumps in the road. I think that helps. And being sober has helped me a lot. So, these are things that I think have benefited me. But I mean, and just getting to meet more people. I think when we get to meet people, we get to see what other story people are like. And our industry is amazing. I mean, what we get to do, we get to talk about this. How fun is this to do a show like this and just talk about comics, movies, writing, literature, different things and that are involved with entertainment, which has inspired so many great people. Neil deGrasse Tyson, deGrasse. I don't know how I'm saying it.
Yep, Tyson deGrasse.
I see it in my brain right now for some reason. But you see these scientists that come out and they say, I was inspired by such and such. I was inspired by Star Trek. I was inspired by all these different people. When you see that, it's just fascinating to me.
And what's interesting, Casper, is that the reason why I'm so happy that you did this podcast, because we like to show people the actor, like who you really are. And and as we both know, been around Hollywood a lot, we've seen a lot of people, a lot of us know that, like sometimes they say don't meet your heroes and all that. And that's true in a lot of cases, but you're almost like how you're so into it and you're such a fan of that. That's something that is so refreshing for people to see. And that's a big reason why I wanted you to come on this. And we got a big comic crowd, but like when I'm going to toot your horn a little bit here. I watched you a little bit. We watched you at the convention and stuff, and how you were so good with all the fans and having a good time. And like you never just signed something and see you later. You were always very interested in what they had to say. And that's very refreshing to see, because people that are going to come out and see you, that they want to meet their Rico, it's just like you really are like such a good person and you're such a fan of the industry. And it's so refreshing to see, because like I said, sometimes you meet your heroes and all that, you're just like, and I have, and it's just like, oh God, like, oh,
thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I got to meet, Stan Lee, and he was just like, you should be Captain America. I'm like, you fucking wrote Captain America, and you're telling me I'd be the perfect Captain America. So you get something like that where you go, oh my God, But when I have people come up to me and they tell me the different stories, you told me, Steve said something to me. He said something. He said, well, you know how that movie had an effect on people. And I'm going to tell you a story, Steve and John. And I'm going to tell you a story. I worked on a silly movie years ago in New Mexico. And the transportation captain came up to me and goes, Casper, he goes, would you take a picture with my son? He's a big fan. I go, yeah, absolutely. He goes, yeah, he's a Marine over in Afghanistan. I go, absolutely, I'll take it. He goes, yeah, he lost his legs and part of an arm over in Afghanistan, one roadside bomb. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, okay. And he goes, yeah, his last memory was after he got blown up and he was lying there, his bare arm came in and it was a death from above. All he could see was this. And that guy pulled him out and then he passed out. And he goes, that guy that saved my son's life is doing another tour, and they became best friends. And he wants to send a picture of you and him together to him because he's got the death from above tattoo. I had the death from above tattoo. So he wants to do that. So he and I took a picture. The makeup artist and I were both crying. So she made death from above tattoo, covered up his tattoo, put it on. We both put it on, took a picture, sent it to him. Now, 2 years later, I would do this for anybody, but this is people in the military. They say these things. It's amazing to me. It's always a huge honor for me. 2 years later, I'm at Warner Brothers on a show called All American that I'm on right now that I've been doing for 5 years or whatever it is. But the guys at the thing, I have to hand in my ID when I go through, and the security guards, ex-military apparently, because they go, hey, he looks at my ID, goes, hey, Rico. He goes, I go, yeah. And he goes, heard what you did for that Marine. We just want to say thank you. This is 2 years after I did it, and this is in a different state, and it comes back to me. So when you say, yeah, I do know how profound that fearsome bullet. Yeah, I was crying, my brother. I'm going to tell you that much. These men, they can say that I made that much of an effect for them when I'm just being a guy in a movie that's written that way. I'm playing it the best I can and to be in the most honorable way I can because that's what I want to do. But when it has that effect, do I know what kind of effect it has on people? Yeah, I do. And that's where it means the most to me, is something like that happened for me. And it happens all the time. I mean, I worked out with a guy at the gym and he goes, hey, do you know that I just want to take a picture with you and send it back to the guys in Afghanistan because we have a CrossFit gym over there and we call it Rico's Roughnecks and we have a mural.
That's so good.
So I worked out with that guy for a whole summer. I worked out. He worked out when he's back over there. They have a Rico's Roughnecks gym, which is a CrossFit gym. They have a mural of me painted shooting a fucking gun. I don't know.
Oh. And when they're Casper, when they're running into battle, they'll be like Rico, like they're probably throwing that out.
There's a game, Starship Troopers Extermination. I'm going to be doing a voiceover for it. I know I am.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be. But right now, and they're going to come out on all the platforms soon. I'm pretty sure about it, I think. I don't know all the technology things yet. But I know that they keep telling me that all the people on that are doing all the quotes from the movie, all the things that I got to say. They're yelling them out all the time. That's all they want to do. And I want to go in and do it with them. So I'm going to try to do something like that. So I've seen some of the graphics. It looks just like the movie. So I can't wait to be involved with that too. So,
are you going to play it though? Are you going to play it?
Oh, hell yeah. My daughter and I will play it. She'll probably play Rico though. I'll probably have to be some other guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, we're going to start winding it down. Steve, go ahead. Any last words to Mr. Casper Van Dien?
It's been a real pleasure. And, I just wanted to make sure that you realize just how powerful that film was. And from that story there that you just told me, it's a lovely feeling to know that, one, you do know how powerful it is. It's going to live forever. But you also have a sense of like humility. You didn't come on here and start saying, do you know who I am? Bow to me, So, and believe you me, when I was first getting involved with some Hollywood people, so John's right. You can meet some people in the business and then you can be completely disheartened. But this conversation has been, very enlightening and it has been a wonderful conversation. And I thank you so much for appearing today.
Thank you, brother.
Now?
Yeah, I mean, Casper, man, you are a blast. You are fun to talk to, hilarious as hell. This has been a great show. You got to come on again with us. And one thing, man, I got to tell you, all of us here, in the comic book community, the pop culture community, man, we are huge fans of your work, all your work beyond Starship Troopers and stuff like that. And one thing I do want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Ted Sikora, who's a great comic book writer, creator. And they actually I thought this was pretty cool. I had him on the show last week. And I was promoting this, as I usually do, as I promote, the next week's shows. And he's like, "Oh man, you got Casper on? I am a diehard fan." They actually did it. So he has the Vaudevillains. And so they did their Hero Tomorrow TV series, their pitch packet. And there was a comment in there, but they actually have you in their dream casting for the character Vincent Reed, Sir Terror. And this is the pitch packet that's going around right now in Hollywood that they're trying to get this series going. And he was like, "Dude," he's like, "That's the guy, man." I was
I mean, to be put with Timothy Oliphant is pretty amazing there. So I'm just gonna be like,
you're the number one choice there. But I thought that was cool, and I just wanted to share that because I mean, I got so many hundreds of DMs and messages of like, "Dude, that's incredible that you got him on," and you're true to your character, man. No, you are, and it's so cool to finally actually get to chat with you. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I hope that comic goes. And that guy better look me up. I'm all gonna come hunt him down.
and once again, Casper, like when I first met you and all that stuff, I was like, Jesus, this guy's cool as shit. He can take me. He's on my level. We're both too much for each other. This was fantastic.
Dude, I am not. Nobody is on your level, John. You just stop it right there. I'm just gonna tell you, nobody is on your level. All right. But I can tell you
heard that from
all of you this. I can say this. Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Yeah. I'm the guy that's on point. Go get him, John. Yeah, sure.
We send you first in. I'm gonna just say we would send you first in because you might kill a lot of the bugs for us.
So Casper, thank you so much for being here. Once again, it's an honor and it's a pleasure. We're definitely going to have you again. And I wanted the people to see who you really are, especially in the comic community, and everything that I'm sure they like. So if you see Casper at a show and all that stuff, come talk to him. And like I'm just saying, like he's exactly what you would expect and everything that you want in his stuff.
I gotta say one quick thing here because somebody just said, "What were my thoughts on FSU?" And FSU got knocked out. They were undefeated, I think, as robbery that they got taken away. I do understand the other teams were really amazing, had tough schedules, but they're an undefeated team. And even though their quarterback got hurt and they got taken away, I think it's kind of disrespectful to all the other players because football is a team sport. So I just want to say that. That's my opinion, even though I'm Florida State too. So I'm just saying. So thanks everybody. I had to throw a little football, and somebody said it, and I can't comment on that because I went to FSU. So
I hear you. Oh, look at that. Football, comics, it's all good. Thank you so much. All right, Steve, get us out of here with Mighty Mystic Milner.
Boom!
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at ThePopXP and over on Instagram at ThePopXP. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.